So my plan is I'm gonna use this piece of spring steel. This is off a leaf spring from like a dump truck, I think. I have a bunch of these laying around given to me. But I'm gonna cut a chunk of it, forge it down, which will widen it as well as make it longer. I'll forge one side of my hammerhead, the other side will be a spike. Then I'm gonna hot cut a hole going through it that'll mount my handle onto. I'll probably take another part of this and forge the top spike. I don't know yet. I'm still kind of just going with it. I don't have a set plan beyond just making the hammerhead. But if everything goes the way I plan doing it now, I'll take this just mild steel, like I don't know the exact dimensions. It's 3/4 inch, but I don't remember how thick it is. I think it's, I don't know, probably 3/16, maybe. But that'll be running down my handle a little ways, as you see on a lot of medieval pole arms. I'm gonna use a piece of hickory for my handle, as I'd like to, because hickory's, it's a good strong wood. It's used for axe handles and baseball bats for a reason. Not historical, but it's the best I can get where I live. So yeah, I'm gonna get my large angle grinder and probably cut it about there maybe. I don't know, I'm just gonna kind of fake it and see what happens. But gonna cut it and then throw it in the forge. Okay, so I have my basic shape forged. I have it marked here where I'm gonna hot cut a hole through it where the handle's gonna go through. I might still have to make a few adjustments, but that's about where I'm gonna go. Then I went ahead, and since that folded there a little bit, I don't know why I had that problem with spring steel when I forged larger pieces, but I went ahead and cut it, and not even, but I'll even it out later. But I'm gonna kind of forge that down a little bit and spread it, so we're gonna have like a four-pronged hammer. That's a horrible representation, but you get the point. Now that this is all rough forged, this doesn't exactly look perfect. I'm still kind of new to hot cutting and opening up large holes in steel. I probably could have said that better. Oh well, I'm not redoing this. But you know, this is good practice, and again, I'm not trying to like sell these or anything, so it doesn't really matter if it doesn't look perfect. But I got that kind of opened up. I'm gonna take a grinder and even everything out a bit, make the spike more pointy, you know. Then I have, this is gonna be my top spike. It's just a piece of scrap spring steel, same chunk from these. This is actually off another project that I couldn't get to work, so I had to scrap it. But I'm gonna hammer it in on itself and make it into a long point. I'm gonna forge weld some flat bar on either side, and they'll sit over the top of this and then go down onto the pole. Man, I did not explain that well. Okay, so I have this rough forged out. And I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. I'm gonna clean this up because this has still got the coating on it from when I bought it. And gonna tack weld this in place so I can forge weld it. I always tack in place just as a holder, so that way I don't have to try and line them up and hammer on them while they're two separate pieces, and I've tried that and it's a real pain. So I just take a normal welder, tack it in place, and forge weld it from there. Yeah, basically I'm gonna forge weld that, and then I'm gonna go and grind all this out to the shape I want. Hopefully I can kind of keep this shape. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna probably maybe make it a little more noticeable with a grinder, and then probably from here out I'm gonna make it more of a blade. It's probably not gonna be sharp because as you see it's pretty wide and looks really wobbly in the camera, but it's really not that bad. So yeah, there we have it, just kind of welded on. I don't think it's welded very well because my welder isn't meant for steel quite that thick. Well, the spike, the flat bar is perfectly fine, but it's just kind of a placeholder, so I'm not too worried. But now I'm just gonna throw it in the forge, heat this up to its, I think, kind of a bright yellow to almost a white, which is forge welding temperatures, and then hammer it together. So I had a brief change in plans. Originally I was gonna have this sit a little farther down and then have this pinned into the wood itself, but that really wasn't gonna go over so well. So what I decided to do was just have the spike going through. Let's see if you can kind of see it. Yeah, and then it'll be held on through these long sheets of metal. I'll probably have it pinned up here, of course. Probably be the same pins I run along there. I thought it wasn't gonna be strong enough, but just kind of holding it together with my hands and smacking against my anvil somewhat lightly. I wasn't trying to actually break it or cut my hands open. I've done that, not fun. But I was doing that and it seemed to hold up pretty well just holding it, so I think it'll be fine. And since I have no intention of using this for any actual medieval combat, yeah, this is just for fun. But anyways, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll have to sand this down where it fits into that a little better. But yeah, I'm gonna probably clean up this a little bit. I'll probably leave most of it rough because I think it looks cool. But I'll sharpen this and probably put a little more of a taper and, you know, corners off that to make it a better spike, and then hammer this into more like a spear pointed blade, and so it's not so wobbly. Didn't focus on it. There it goes. Yeah, as you can see, it's kind of wobbly. So yeah, gonna do that. Okay, now that this is all heat treated and tempered, I just have them held together by this pin here. Nothing significant about that. I'll cut it off and hammer it out later, but it seems to be held on pretty strong. So my basic plan now is I'm going to take, this is a 1x2 piece of hickory, 6 foot long. No specific relevance behind 6 feet, other than that's the size they come in. Historically, I think they were also that size, but yeah, 6 foot distance won't save you with this because this sits out a little farther and with the spike. So yeah, anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to shave this down a little bit, and I'm gonna chisel a groove down here to where the this part here, the name is slipping my head at the moment, but that'll go into that groove and I'll drill holes all the way through and then pin it out, and that'll help hold it in place. Then I'll round out the handle a little bit, not much, just enough to where it's not gonna dig into my hand when using it. So yeah, let's get this thing finished up. So now that I have that groove placed in and the hammer fit on the way I want it to, I'm gonna go just below this and kind of round off these corners here, make it to where it bit's a little more comfortable when you swing it. And then I'm going to drill holes all along here to pin that in place. And I don't know yet, but I might put steel rings around it, or not really, kind of brackets to hold it. I don't know. I might not do that depending on how much time I have. But I'm going to start. I'm just going to use a rasp just because it seems to remove the metal quickly. And I'll just go to a sander and clean everything up. Okay, now that I have it rounded out, I was going to use a belt sander, but the rasp I had seemed to do a really good job. I actually got a bunch of these from a guy who shoes horses. Gave them to my grandpa to give to me to make knives out of, but he gets new ones whenever they get even slightly bit dull because, well, that's his job, and then a little bit dull for him is still super sharp for me. So I got that done pretty quick. So now I'm just going to take some sandpaper and make sure I don't get splinters. I don't like those. And then I think I'm going to burn it a little bit and then maybe give it a nice wood stain, probably a dark walnut or something. It usually gives it a nice antique look. And I find hickory, if you burn it a little bit, it brings out more of the wood grain, so it doesn't look kind of blotchy. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. But I don't film any of that because it's all pretty boring. Literally, I just sand it smooth, take a torch, singe it a little bit, and then paint wood stain on it. Pretty basic, not much interest. Okay, so I have it all stained, sealed, and well, I burned before that. I went with just a nice singeing on it, and then with a dark walnut wood stain with linseed oil, and I think it looked really nice, especially with the rough forged hammer. Looks like something straight out of Dark Souls, which is a look that I just love. I was never good at the games because I'm not much of a gamer. I mean, I play video games, but not a ton, but I was never good at hard ones, so I never got too much into them, even though I love the aesthetic of the game. And the story's pretty cool, too. But anyway, that's off topic. All I really have left to do now is drill a bunch of holes in that and then pin. Well, I'm just going to use nails like that one. That one just needs cut and then rivet it out. And then, yeah, I'll rivet them all out to where it holds on. I normally would use glue, but I don't think glue would add much strength to this. And if this were to break, I just want to be able to cut off the pins and put on a new handle. So I'm just going to use pins. That should hold it pretty well. And there you have it, a long pull hammer. I welded this little piece on because this was loose, still is because I'm terrible at welding, and the main reason I put it on is because this wood cracked, like it split open, as hickory sometimes does. So I just put that on and then welded to this, so it shouldn't go anywhere. But, and I didn't want this to be so loose, but ultimately this is just going to be kind of for fun, so it's not going to matter too much. And just shows, hey, I still make mistakes a lot. It happens. And for a first time building a pull hammer like this one, and my second time building a pull hammer ever, I don't think it's really too big of an issue. So, yeah, I'm going to go throw a skirt on and go test this, which you've seen in the beginning of the video. What you're going to see next is just the short clip I have showing the whole hammer and, all the things at the end of my video, because I filmed these somewhat out of order. I can't test the weapon and, have it before I make it, without having it already done. If I made it in order, that would break the timeline. And I make weapons, I don't control time. If I did control time, I would definitely mess with some stuff, because why not? That's way off topic. That's a whole different rant, so just ignore this last part.